Okay, we are here. Welcome. This is Jan Copeland, curator of the Girls Guide to Outrageous Real Estate Success Facebook group and coach over at the Living Girl Success Boutique. And it's another day in September, and we're here with another awesome lady who is going to be sharing with us a time in her life when she had some kind of transformation from a struggle to the way she's seen herself through it, or really whatever she wants to share in her heart. And today I'm excited that I have Jennifer Mack of Jennifer Mack Properties with me. She is in my old stomping grounds in Northern Virginia, DC Metro, if you don't know what that means. And she has been in the business 15 years. And she has 2 kids and a really handsome husband. I see on pictures. I haven't met him, but he's a sweetheart. And so, Jen, thank you so much for being here. And take it away. I'd love to hear what you want to share with us.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed watching some of the other stories that you've recorded from some of these other great women. And so just wanted to thank you for that. And thank you for sharing like you always do. So appreciate you having me. So my journey is maybe a little bit different from some of the other stories that you've shared. I've been very blessed in my life that, nothing traumatic has really ever happened to me. I had kind of I guess typical upbringing, but when I go into some of the details, maybe some people won't think it was so typical. But I've been blessed that I haven't had, some of these, just super challenges in life that some women have had. And, but I think it's all relative. And so we all go through our own journey, and it's important to not, discount that. But my story might be a little bit different. Like you said, I've been in real estate for about 15 years. Before that, I worked in the high-tech software industry in Austin, Texas. And then when my husband decided to join the Army, we moved to Fayetteville, North Carolina. And that was where I got into real estate. I realized there were not high-tech software companies there, and got into real estate about 15 years ago. But my story starts obviously way before that. So I'm from a military family. My dad was a career Army officer. He was a tanker. And my mom was off and on, again, a school teacher. But I know there's probably a lot of military spouses that are a part of your group. And it is a real challenge as a military spouse to keep a career up while your husband is active duty, or of course, vice versa. If the wife is active duty, I think it's hard for the husband to keep a career up. So she worked on and off outside the home. She always worked. So I always make sure I say outside the home, because she was always working. It just was she paid or not for it. And military spouses certainly do a lot of unpaid work as part of their obligations with their spouse. So anyway, my mom, worked on and off as a school teacher, but was home with us a lot. And, starting when I was, I think 3 years old, we were stationed in Germany, and I was the only American kid in the preschool. So I was the only American kid with all other German students. And of course I didn't speak German. And so I just had to figure it out and learned how to speak German within the first couple of months of being there, which is easy when you're little. It's much harder now, but when you're little, it's easy. And starting around then, my dad he was gone all the time. He was always out in the field is what we called it. That's when you're in the military, you spend a lot of time out in the field where you're not coming home at night. You're out for maybe 27, 28 days in a row, and then maybe coming home for a couple of days, then going right back out. So I was the oldest of 3 kids, and my mom really counted on me to kind of be her, kind of her pseudo wife, I guess, because, she was doing everything. And so my mom really counted on me to do everything that I could to help her out. And I kind of just rose to the occasion, because I really didn't have a choice. It was something where she wasn't asking me to help with things. She was telling me, this is what I need. This is what we got to get done. Let's make this happen. And I was pretty enthusiastic about it. I liked the praise that I got from others around, my abilities at a young age to do whatever needed to be done. For example, starting when I was about 9 years old, when we needed to grocery shop, my mom would drop me off at the commissary, which is, it's kind of like, our big grocery stores that we have. And she would drop me off with a blank check when I was 9 or 10. And I would go through and I would spend $300, $350, get all of our groceries. And we did that once a month. Now my daughter's 11. I can't imagine dropping her off at a grocery store with a blank check and expecting her to do that. So anyways, I always had a lot that was heaped on me. Nothing traumatic or anything, but just a lot of responsibility. My parents expected me to just, like I said, rise to the occasion and be good at it. We moved around a ton. I went to 3 high schools in 4 years. I was always the new kid. I remember eating lunch in a toilet stall the first day of my junior year of high school because I didn't know anybody. And it was a very difficult position to be in. It brings tears to my eyes every time I talk about it, because to be 16 years old and in a school where you don't know anybody, and it's like you want to say to people, hey, at my last school I had a lot of friends, like I'm really likable, do you want to hang out? And it's awkward when you're 16 to say that to people. And it was people that had all gone to school together forever and they didn't need new friends, so I always had to figure out how to get into new environments and make friends. And I've had a couple just angels along the way who have taken me under their wing, and my best friends have done that for me, and I appreciate it so much, and some wonderful teachers. Then when it's time to go to college, I went to college across the country, University of Texas. Didn't know anybody there. University of Texas has about 50,000 students, and went from Virginia to Austin, Texas. Figured out some friendship groups, and graduated in 3 years. I've always been all about efficiency. And if you told me that something could be done in a more efficient way, I was going to do it that way. And I never stopped to ask myself, is this what makes the most sense? Is this a good decision? Just because you can graduate college in 3 years, and I'm sure some people have done it in fewer time than that, does it make sense? And in my family, we don't ask each other that question. We just do it. And, I don't know that that was the best thing for me. And I don't know that that's something that I would encourage my children to do. But anyway, I graduated in 3 years. I went right into graduate school. By the time I was 22, I had my MBA, and I started working at high-tech startups with a bunch of engineers and kind of ran the place. I was like the mother hen at age 23, 24 for all these engineers. And I processed H-1B visas and, just did everything that needed to be done to run these companies. And then at the age of 27 was when I got into real estate. Like I said, we moved to Fayetteville, North Carolina, and real estate or software industry was not an option. So I got into real estate, and so it's been about 15 years since I've been in real estate. And about 6 years ago was when I started my team. So I've been blessed with success in real estate. I always sold, starting from my first year, about $10 million my first year, and then it just kind of increased from there and capped out at maybe around 20 million in a year or something like that. So it was making really good money. But I was really killing myself. And I know that's a common story that a lot of realtors share. I was tired. I was burnt out. I was working all hours. I was trying to be all things to all people. And I did that for several years because I didn't know that there was any other way that made sense to do things, because that's how I was brought up, right? I was brought up that you always make the hard choices. You work hard. Your reward will come later. Do anything you need to do to get the job done, and don't ask for help. And that's how I was. And a couple of years ago, I started thinking to myself, this is not sustainable. This is not how I want to be for the rest of my life. And what choices could I make to have my life look a little bit different from what it looked? Because I really wasn't happy. On the surface, everything looked great, nice family, nice home, all the vacations, the cars, all of those sorts of things. All of the success with my client base and everything, but I really wasn't happy. And so what I kind of started on was a journey of really trying to let go of a lot of the things that really don't matter, and just really trying to decide what does matter and what doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I decided that I was going to identify the things that I really enjoyed doing, the things that I loved doing, and the things that I hated doing. And I was going to try to come up with a life where I was mostly doing just things that I wanted to do. And we're so blessed with this career in real estate that we can do that. For the most part, I think we all love what we do, but there's certain parts that we don't like. And I just really started becoming very intentional and very focused on how could I leverage out the pieces of my job that I didn't enjoy, so that I was spending more hours of the day doing things that I liked. Mm-hmm. You know how I am with my planner. I love my calendar. And every morning when I get up and I look at my day, I want to look forward to as many things as possible, rather than, okay, I'm excited about this, but I'm dreading these 7 things. Mm-hmm. That's not why we get into this industry. And that's not the kind of life that I wanted to have. And so what I really started looking at was how could I allow some leverage into my life and what would make the most sense. And I think that one of the big myths is that agents think that they need to be doing just tons and tons of business to really be able to have that privilege of assembling a team around you and getting some help in. And I think that that's a huge misconception, because I think that you can find a lot of people to help you on a part-time basis, a contract basis. Whereas even if you're only, have 1 or 2 pendings in a month, the parts of that you don't like, you can outsource it to somebody. So I started looking at how I could build my life so that would happen. And what I did was, one of the very first things I did was I hired a stager. So I stage all my listings. I don't charge anything extra. I own all my own inventory, and I had been doing it myself. And it's fun for a little bit, but then about halfway through the day, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? As you're ironing, bedspreads and dusting walls and corners. And it's just, you start asking yourself, is this really the best use of my time? So I found a great stager that I started outsourcing those jobs to. And I've gotten to the point now where I go on the initial listing appointment and then I don't go back to the house ever. I go once to the house. Once I've seen the house and once I've met the clients that one time, I do not have to set foot back in that house, which works for me. There's no reason for me to go back. I go the first time, and if I do a good job on taking my notes and pictures and all of that, my team should be able to do the rest. Yeah. So the stager, you can hire to help you if you're interested in that on a per listing basis. Mm-hmm. Transaction coordinators, I know a lot of people have TCs now. I highly recommend them to just save you from some of that grunt of the paperwork. And also, quite frankly, to provide an excellent customer service experience to your clients, make sure you're not dropping the ball on anything. Mm-hmm. I have a runner. So I used to spend Sunday mornings going and changing out sign riders to make sure that, the open house rider was on the sign, or the sale pending rider was on the sign. And so people didn't show up thinking there was an open house that day. I used to, drag my kids in the car with me and run around and do all that. I know everyone's been there and I still have to do it sometimes, but it's gone way down. So I have a part-time runner that my operations manager can send him a note whenever she needs something and he'll run around and take care of it. And I have buyer's agents on my team now that work with me who are able to go out and show a lot of houses, and they do a fantastic job. And so I'm really not working with too many buyers anymore besides the people who I want to work with. If I want to work with them, then I do. If I would rather outsource it, then I hand it off to somebody. I have a great operations manager, Vanessa Simon. She's incredible. And what I've had to learn, my journey is so much about letting go and trusting other people in your life and not thinking that you're the person who can do everything the best. Because as realtors, one of the traits that all successful realtors have, I believe, is that we're all super capable people and we know how to get things done. I know that's how you are. Mm-hmm. And we think that we can do it better than anybody else. And that's such a limiting belief that's going to limit you in your life so much. You've got to be willing to hire people who can do the things that you shouldn't be doing. So I always tell people, come up with what your hourly rate is. My hourly rate is $300 an hour. And if it's a task that's less than $300 an hour, it needs to go to somebody else. Mm-hmm. Are there exceptions to that? Of course there are. Yes, of course there are. But by and large, that's my rate. And my operations manager handles all the tasks that are slightly below that. And then it goes down in the hierarchy until you get to the runner, who's about, $20 an hour or something like that. Mm-hmm. And once I started really letting go and allowing that leverage to come into my life, I realized that there are so many things that my team does better than I do. And it's humbling at first. And then you just feel this great sense of gratitude and pride in their abilities. And then that's when it's pretty easy to let it go after that. But you've got to see that evidence that these people can do things better than you can. And then just let them do their thing. And I have become really, really good at that over the last year or two. And it's made such a difference in my life. So that leverage is what will allow you to spend more of your time doing what you really want to do. Whether it's working being with your family, working on yourself, exercising, that sort of thing, meditating, whatever it is, the more leverage you have in your life, the more you're going to be able to do that. And so what I would encourage everyone to do is allow that into your space and trust, hire the right people. What do we say? Hire slow, fire fast. So the minute they're not the right fit, you got to let them go. And you've got to be willing to pay for it. So I see people all the time with posts wanting to find help, and then they post what they're offering to compensate. And I'm like, you're not going to find anybody, right? You see that?
Anybody worthwhile, yes.
Yeah. So you have to be willing to compensate them. My operations manager makes a very good rate, but she's worth it. She's worth it.
She's your right arm, right? So I mean,
absolutely.
What would you think that your right arm should get paid, right? And
That's
it really
exactly
is different
right.
because you're in like near DC Metro, so you're probably paying far more than somebody in Tennessee. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's all relative to geography and cost of living.
Right. Her mortgage is higher than a Tennessee mortgage, most likely.
Right.
So, you have to be fair about that. And I see people just so desperate to hold on to those dollars. And the fact is, if you're willing to give up some of them and pay somebody fairly, Vanessa's coming up on her 1-year anniversary here in another week. And we're going to be celebrating that. And I want her to stay with me forever. So what do I need to do to make sure that that can happen? I've sent her to trainings out of state before and paid for them. She's going to an operations, an admin conference that's coming up in a couple of months where she'll be there the whole weekend without me, just learning and growing, as a person. I trust her to go and, she's licensed. I really recommend a licensed assistant. She goes and, on listing appointments with me. She can take buyers out. She can do whatever I need her to do because she's licensed.
Yep.
And so I really recommend that. So I think that, and what I've seen, especially over the last year, I pulled my numbers because I wasn't sure if you were going to ask me about them. And I'm not somebody who has these things memorized. I guess maybe I should, but I mean, we have a chart on our wall with all of our sales, but I don't walk around with those figures in my head. And so I pulled them. In 2018, I did a total of 20.5 million. My GCI was 550,000. 2019, year to date, we're at 29.7 million closed with 4 million pending, and my GCI is at 757,000. And we still have, thank you. And we still have 3.5 months left in the year. So I think that that's proof that it works, and I'm working less hours than I did last year. So that's really my message is, to all those people pleasers and perfectionists and workaholics, to be willing to give it up and get your life back. You won't regret it for one second.
Let me ask you, and thank you so much. I think the perfectionism and, most top agents are type A.
Yes.
So I just picture when I was, an acting agent and team leader, I just had this is mine, like my arms were around everything, you know what I mean? And
hurts after a while, doesn't it?
Yeah. And at first it's like, whoo, and then after a while you're like, whoo, it just changes, right? So I have a few things. Number one, have your children seen a change? Have they noticed or said anything?
They haven't said anything, but I mean, they're 7 and 11, so they're little. I don't know that they would say anything. I used to do a really good job of faking it. Yeah. So I'd be with them and I'm smiling and I'm nodding and all of that, and inside I'm dying. Yeah. Right? Oh my gosh, you can hear your phone in the background, the text pouring in, the voicemails pouring in. So I did a pretty good job of faking it. Yeah. But I think I knew that there comes a time in your children's life where you can't fake it anymore. They see
when they get older, you can't. Okay, so something else you said that was amazing. You said that one of the limiting beliefs is that you said something like, I do it best. I do it better than anybody else could. And right. So really, I don't think that, because that seems like a positive thing. Like I'm confident, right, that I can do it myself. But in actuality, it is a self-limiting belief, but I never saw it that way. So thank you for pointing that out, because you're doubting so much, in that statement. You're even doubting yourself because of your ability to manage someone else, to even teach them how to do it. And then, it's actually a self-limiting belief, and I never thought of that. So thank you for that. And then speaking German, do you speak any German anymore or no?
ein bisschen. My mom sent me to a tutor after we got back to the US for a couple of years. And then I think I got to like 5th grade and I was like, Mom, I do not want to go to the German tutor after school again.
Uh-huh.
But it really helped me to learn Spanish quickly. And I ended up majoring in Spanish. I studied abroad in Spain for a semester and still speak Spanish fluently and use it all the time. So I think, you know, you get that facility early in life for a language and it helps you with other languages, even if you don't necessarily keep up with that one. I wish I had kept up with it. I really do. But my poor mom, you know, she just kind of gave up at a certain point.
Hey, when the kid won't do it anymore, there's only so
Yeah.
much you can do. Interestingly, I graduated from college in 3 years.
I'm not surprised.
And so did my daughter. And I think my daughter did it because, you know, she was trying to save us money because she was the only daughter. And she said, Mom, you know, you're going to have to pay for my wedding, which we did. And she's married now. But I just wonder, because I actually was proud of myself for graduating in 3 years. My daughter got her master's in 4.5 years. So I'm just wondering what your thought process is. That did you feel like you missed out on something by cramming it into the 3 years?
I do. I mean, like I look at the college experience that my husband had, and he also went to a really large state university, but it was in the state where he grew up. So he did know a lot of people. And, you know, he had kind of that instant social life that I would have had to have looked for. So I do think that I missed out on that. You know, I never went to a football game once until after I graduated. You know, somebody asked me to go to one and I went to one. I'd never been to, you know, University of Texas football game, which people can't believe. So I definitely think that I missed out on a lot, but I've always been a worker. You know, I was so excited to get down to Austin and find a job and, you know, did and have wonderful friends that I met through those jobs. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was just kind of my priority. But yes, I wish that I'd had a little more fun. I wish that I'd taken it a little bit easier, but I didn't know how to do that. I really didn't. I wasn't brought up in that way. And so I just continued living my life the way that I was taught to live it. And it took me until I was 40 years old to go, wait a minute, I don't have to choose this path. No one can choose this except me.
And I love that.
Look like.
Oh, I love that. Last thing I'm going to say, because I know you're busy, I just want to say one more thing. The fact that you helped your mom going to the grocery store and you had responsibility at a young age, and I think that it sounds like your mom and dad both had great work ethics, that was something to be revered, right? Yeah. That was something to be revered. And so when you turned 40, I guess, you're saying you decided to take a step back and make choices and kind of set standards, really. So you're setting standards. So I just think that it's important that we share, because there's type A's that are going to be watching this, women, and sometimes we lose. I don't know if this happened to you, but with me, I lost myself. I was so wanting to please ladies on my team because I had a all-girls team. I was so into exceeding my clients' expectations. And then when I sold my team and came over to coaching, it just opened my eyes to being able to say, and let yourself down. And it's okay. It doesn't mean you don't have a good work ethic. Did you experience that? And then you had to kind of rediscover yourself a little bit as far as what you even like to do personally?
Yeah, for sure. I think that when you're raised like that, you know, my mom's father was a cattle farmer in Nebraska. Two of my uncles are still farmers in Nebraska, working 70, 80, 90-hour weeks. And that was what I thought you had to do. That's what my dad did, right? He retired as a colonel in the Army and then went back and worked another 15 years at the Pentagon. So I just thought that was what you had to do rather than being more results driven, right? So if I've sold whatever I said it was, I already forgot, $30 million in real estate so far this year, and I want to take an afternoon off and get a massage and a pedicure, it's okay. No one can be mad at me about that, right?
That's right.
And the way that I'm able to do that is by that leverage. So letting go. And then if you fit, and there's so many books out now about, 4-hour work weeks and things like that. I mean, I'm a big proponent of starting early. I know you are too, and getting that work done. And once you're finished with those things and your team's got their marching orders, go do what you want to do and don't feel bad about it. If I want to go take a 5-mile walk around the lake in the middle of a Tuesday, I can do that. I'm not letting anybody down. And it's taken a couple of years for me to truly believe that, because you can say something, but you may not truly believe it.
Yeah.
And that's where the real growth occurs, is once you truly believe it.
And it's awesome because you have to break a habit. I mean,
Right.
if you did this till you were 40, you can't expect, to have, so getting a lesser degree of guilt or whatever it is that you feel when you take that time for yourself. So I just applaud you for that. And I am so thankful that you're speaking this message of getting over perfectionism and leveraging your business, because, I coach women all the time, and they're top performers, and they hang on for fear of money, like you said, or just because nobody's going to do it like me, and or I don't have time to teach it, to a buyer's agent, for example. But thank you for your story and your inspiration, and congratulations, because I know you're doing a great job and you're a top agent and a top team. So keep it up, and thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you. Appreciate
All
your
right.
time. Bye-bye.
Have a great one. Thanks so much.
Okay, bye.